Like gonna get a notification that we're online right now, my friend. Oh my god. This is let's see, am I back here?
I'm sorry my C's aren't very good.
What happened here?
Does this look like a C?
What?
Nothing. Oh,
look at that, you're live on.
YMCA.
Where's the MCA? Oh, you fell apart. All right, well, it says YouTube, we're live. Somebody's watching. I mean, I guess I'm the only person on YouTube who's watching right now.
Ooh.
It's a Thursday, right? We're having fun here at Samurai Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
No, we're getting tons of official business done.
What are we doing?
We're doing official business.
Is this official business?
Yeah, we've got our business suits.
Our business? Oh, there you go. I think you're live there too. Oh, yeah, we're live on both. This is pretty cool.
All right.
Query whether my computer melts down in the middle of this because it's being asked to do more than it generally does. I've wanted to do this a long time, like be able to stream on both, because I think Facebook gets more traffic than YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always fun to get more traffic.
I'm glad I could leave a good first impression for the Facebook.
Yeah, that was a beautiful thing. What are we talking about, Coach Gavin? We always have a topic of discussion.
Oh, I wanted to talk about joy today.
About what?
Joy.
Joy?
Mm-hmm.
Joy to the world?
Because, well...
Hold on, let me turn all this up. We can tell we're very organized. I'm just so happy that we're streaming to two different things, two different sites at once. I'm very happy about that. Oh yeah. All right, come on, we gotta restart to do these workouts.
Is this not cool? I thought this was cool.
Is that cool? I don't know. We'll have to ask our viewers. You guys, put it in the comments if you think it's cool what Coach Kevin is doing. It's the new helicopter guard that Kevin's working on.
And I'm working on my C's. Oh my god. How do you do a C? Oh, I can't. Oh, that doesn't look like a C. Oh. Nope.
No, you have to start spinning.
I can't.
You can't start spinning.
Oh my god. What's the difference between happiness and joy?
Happiness and joy. I don't know. Is there supposed to be one?
I
think of joy as being like happiness is a very general or broad category of emotion, whereas joy is a specific subset of happiness. Like happiness would include everything from contentment and satisfaction all the way to, joy. I think of joy as being at the one end of the... I don't know what are you doing with that contraption.
Our joy...
That's going to drop on your foot.
I'm aware.
All right.
I'm prepared mentally for it.
I'm not taking you to the hospital if you're going to be dumb.
I know.
If you're smart, then I might consider it.
Do you think joy and euphoria are the same thing?
No, I think of euphoria as being something higher than joy. Right? Euphoric is almost like indicative of like a drug-induced.
Yeah.
Whereas joy is just like, I think of, well, maybe it depends on the dog, but I think of dogs as being joyful, right? When you come home and there's a dog there and it likes you, and it's like so happy to see you. Now, if you've been away for a really long time, it might be euphoric to see you, right? It's almost, you see the drug, like you see when people come home, like soldiers, and they meet their dog after 5 years, and the dog just totally loses its shit.
Yeah, U.S. military propaganda, yeah.
Well, whatever it is, it is, first of all, it's effective.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't work, and I'm not saying I don't like it.
I mean, I hope you're not against the troops, Coach Gavin.
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm just very cynical about it.
You are really? Why are you so cynical? You're too young to be cynical. What are you doing there?
If I'm going to feel feelings, I want it to be for the right reasons.
Right. Well, what could be more of a right reason than supporting our troops and their return?
I mean, we're close together in terms of existence, and I like dogs. Not like, I'm not trying to create positive associations with the military right now,
Why? Our military, our brave soldiers are safeguarding our freedoms.
Like if it happens, but I'm not trying to make it happen through dog videos. That's just not why I watch them. So it's, I don't know. I'm not against them. I still enjoy them. It just to me seems like it has a purpose other than making me feel feelings. You know, it's trying to make me feel thoughts or think thoughts too. Maybe I'm just paranoid. That being said, like I wish I could come home from an extended overseas tour, and I wish I also had a dog to experience that coming home to a dog that misses you feeling. Because it does look pretty cute.
You just have to get the dog and then leave it for 5 years.
Just get a dog in a
Like
bag.
bond with it for about a year, and then
Yeah.
and then just take off for another 5 years, and then make sure your camera's working, and it's turned on when you come home, and then there, instant YouTube viral video.
It'll definitely make you feel better about abandoning your companion.
It's all for the best, right? It's all for the best.
I mean, I'm sure that whenever the person took the video of like their daughter and their daughter's dog coming back, or whatever it was, it didn't have any like nefarious intent, but I'm making a barbell up as a boy.
This is our series on improvised exercise equipment. And then you're going to see our next video, which is me taking
Kevin to the hospital.
Kevin to the hospital, or having him take me to the hospital. No, we're still live here. That's good. Just want to check our
Are there
stream.
any other, I don't know, anti-government rants I can go on right now?
I didn't interpret that as an anti-government rant. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Oh, wait a minute.
What? What happened?
I think we were live on the wrong page.
What?
Let me see here. Oh, there we go. Miles. Marcine. Miles is laughing. I don't know what you're laughing about.
Wait, which Miles?
Miles, Cool Miles.
What?
Cool Miles.
Cool Miles, which one?
Miles, Gorilla Jitsu Miles. What's his name? What's the name of the guy who breathes?
I should know his last name.
What's his name?
I just messaged you.
No, but I mean the guy who is
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
the famous guy.
Wim Hof guy.
Wim Hof.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. It's,
Yeah.
speaking of which, you should send me I remember there was some invite for a seminar, and I don't think I could make it for some reason.
I believe he's down in LA now. But yeah, I sent a message to him a couple months ago with some questions, and he was really nice to me.
He's a nice person. Don't, what are you doing? Get away from me with that. That's totally gonna break. So, you're definitely not using leverage right now?
My arms are levers, therefore I'm using leverage.
There you go, you guys. If you got some duct tape, some kettlebells, and a random bar.
The trick is to tape the kettlebells to the
So they don't
bar
slide around.
and not the bar.
Actually, that's more advanced. If you were to do it without any tape whatsoever, I think you would impress a lot more people. Oh man, get out of here. You were totally hurt yourself. Or me.
That was a good one. That
No.
was not bad.
I mean, it wasn't bad because it didn't
Yeah.
break and hurt yourself. I mean,
Could have been worse.
it could have been a lot worse. Ugh. I'm waiting for the thing to just split in half and then all of a sudden fall and break your knees or something. You gotta get under the bar while it's on the you should only be able to get it to here, and then you get under the bar.
I'm doing my best. Thank you.
As your coach, you can totally, that's pretty good. See, I believed in you, Kevin. See what the inspiration of my coaching did for you?
So
I believed in you and mocked you a little bit, and then you totally rose to the occasion or
Yes.
something.
Did you get that from your coaching book over there?
You know
Just
what? I get a lot of
mock
good things
just
from my
that-
coaching book.
Mock them that perfect amount, and then
Sometimes a little bit of mockery can really.
depends on the kids. Teenagers tend to like it. Teenagers like sarcasm.
Well, mocking sarcasm or sarcastic mockery.
Yeah.
Although mockery is generally sarcastic.
Yeah, ironic, I would say.
Here's the problem. I was watching a little bit of the press conference of who's number one.
What do you mean?
So they had a little live press conference for who's number one.
For what?
For who's number one. That's the show. That's going to be Gordon Ryan, Roberto. Who's number one?
They're
is the name of
calling,
the show.
they're calling that who's number one?
Yeah, so it's like the idea is you're going to compete to be. So what they usually do is they get the top couple of the top people. It's not always 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 or whatever. It may be 5 and 1, or 3 and 4 or whatever. But the idea is by having high level competition, they're going to increase their ratings, their flow ratings, their flow rankings, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like who's going to be number one at the end of this?
So it's a reference to the
rankings.
tournaments?
It's a reference to the rankings.
The rankings of the competitors or of
The
the
rankings
tournaments?
of the competitors.
Okay.
So like Gordon Ryan's number one.
Yeah. So
If he were to lose to Roberto Jimenez tomorrow, he would no longer be. He might still. I don't know how they calculate the.
well, in that case,
the number one ranking.
who's number one? It just might be Gordon if he's that far ahead, right?
You could be. You could still remain. It depends on how they rate it, right? Because Roberto is. I think he's the number one middleweight.
Oh, so it's not of this one person's class. It's like overall.
I think generally they try to make it the same class, but because Nicky Ryan had to bail out and Gordon just stepped up, they decided like we don't care, which I think is just increasing my. This is what we were talking about the other day, maybe on more than one occasion.
So is there someone who's vying to take the number one spot then?
Well, in this case, it would be arguable. I think Gordon. I don't know if Gordon's the number one pound for pound. I don't know if they have a pound for pound category. I think this is just. It's not. If it had been Nicky and Roberto.
But Nicky's nowhere near number one.
Well, he's in top 10.
Top 10, sure, but like.
But
It's
they
not
don't always,
if
like I said, they don't always get the number one. It's not always directly for number one.
But if Nicky, like, let's say Nicky has the best performance of his
Yes.
life, he's
And
not
he
going to
wins.
become number one.
He might. I don't know what the rankings are, but he'll get closer to number one.
No, he'll get closer, but he won't get.
Or Roberto might not be who's number one anymore, and the person who's number two might move up by virtue of.
Wait, Roberto's number one?
That's my understanding. Middleweight.
Middleweight. So this whole thing is, let's watch Gordon take the number one spot, kind of.
No, because I don't think they're. I think this is just a make-do kind of thing because Nicky had to bail out. I don't think there's actually a ranking on the line right now.
Yeah.
Because there's such different weight divisions.
But isn't
But like
there a
Gordon
ranking number
versus,
one?
or not Gordon, Craig versus Ronaldo. I think, I'm not sure if Craig is number one, but he's very close to number one.
Why are there so many number one peoples?
Because it's all different weight classes.
Okay. Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
You can have an overall number one, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are people who win so many, it depends on how you rank it,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's what you were talking about first. Like if somehow someone from the lower rank would do so well, and then maybe Gordon does something, or whoever's number one of the all, and like does something really bad, then there could be a switch.
It could be.
But there are multiple number ones
Yeah.
that multiple.
Just
people
like
want.
Gabby and Natalie are number one for women's,
Okay.
right? At that weight class. Gabby's definitely number one in the weight class.
So something changed. Nicky, you said Nicky isn't fighting?
Yeah, so Nicky was training with Nicky Rodriguez, and apparently he got calf sliced so bad that he had to go to the hospital and get an MRI.
Nicky Ryan
Nicky Ryan got calf sliced
in training
in training.
by Nicky Rodriguez.
Yes.
Nicky Rod is DBS?
Yes. That's an interesting thing too because, I would not personally want to have Nicky Rodriguez doing any kind of calf slicer, even in practice on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure what happened was, well, I'm not sure, but I suspect what happened was that, you know, Nicky Ryan didn't tap when he should have tapped.
I don't know.
And then he got,
That
or
seems
Nicky
like a
Rodriguez
place-
was just going so fast on it and just killed it, you know, like snapped on it so quick.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they would be so, I don't know, maybe not prone, but quick to injure their own people. Like, I would guess it would be an
I mean, I didn't say it was on purpose. I just was saying that, you know, there's kind of like two things in my mind that could have happened. Maybe I can imagine more, but like off the bat, it's either A, he didn't tap quickly enough, or two,
Isn't that on
that Nicky
purpose?
Rodriguez, you know, like put it on real fast.
If I'm applying a submission and you don't tap and it breaks, is that not doing it on purpose?
Yeah, it's on purpose in the sense of you're doing the submission on purpose. It's not on purpose of like I wanted to hurt you,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Like,
you're
like it's like a game of chicken, right?
yeah.
Like we can play the game of chicken, and the assumption is that one of us is going to swerve, right?
Yeah, but
One of us is going to tap.
But if we
Or
crash,
let go.
But if we crash, you can't be like it was an accident.
Well, it's not an accident in the sense that you were engaged in a stupid game.
Yeah.
It was an accident in the sense of like, well, I didn't intend to hurt you.
But you were calf slicing. That's what that's
Well,
for.
Yeah, I mean, all submissions are essentially to hurt somebody or to
Yeah,
put them to sleep.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
yeah, I mean, it's two different ideas, right? Like the idea of, did he intend to do a calf slice? Yes, obviously he, you know, or maybe he didn't, I don't know, but assuming he did something intentional,
Yeah.
it was intentional to use a submission.
Yeah.
Did he intend to hurt the person? Then maybe not. Right? It's kind of like let's say you put me in an arm lock.
I
Let's say
get
you
what
put me in an
you're
arm lock.
saying. I just don't like the language.
Let's say you put me in an arm lock,
Mhm.
right? You've got the arm lock
Mhm.
fully extended or almost fully extended,
Mhm.
right? And I mean, we've been there a million times, right? You've had an arm lock on me,
I've had arm
Right.
locks before.
on a lot of people, right? Generally, I don't get the sense that you're not intending to hurt me. You want me to tap. Yeah, you're not like, Rich, I'm going to break your arm, right? But if I thrash around underneath in an attempt to escape a fully locked out arm lock, and I turn out, you know, and I wind up blowing out my shoulder and or my elbow,
Mhm.
right? Well, you didn't intend to do that. I was being stupid.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I would kind of argue that it was my fault for not tapping.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's possibly one of the situations that we're looking at here. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything from. Maybe I just haven't seen the video. Maybe he did talk about it. But I haven't heard like the real details of it. And I don't expect they'll ever come out. But that's why I'm, you know, speculating.
Yeah, no, that's a weird gray area for me. I don't know. I can't really put it into words why. Like, if I'm not trying to break your arm, though, am I really doing an arm bar, or am I just holding onto your arm?
I mean, you have me in the armbar position.
Yeah, but am I doing an arm bar?
You performed the armbar. You're not breaking. You're not intentionally like hipping into it.
But that's the
You
arm.
could do that.
That is an arm.
That's one part of the armbar. It's the ultimate part of the armbar.
The
Right?
last
That's
part.
what you are threatening. When you do it, you are threatening.
Just the last part.
Well, I mean, the idea is like, if you don't submit, I can break your arm, or I will break your arm. Your arm will be broken.
Yeah, and like, so when
So you are
but
performing.
when the person doesn't submit and you make the decision to do that last part,
Yes.
is that not your decision, or is that the other person's
Well, it's
decision?
the other thing, right? Like, so let's say, we'll take another example, similar, right? You put me in an arm lock, right? You get my arm fully extended, and I don't tap. I just sit there still,
Yeah.
and I don't tap. I don't try to resist. I don't do anything else.
Mhm.
And then you hip into my arm and you break my elbow.
That's rude.
Right?
Yeah.
I would say in that part, now again, I'm not putting myself as some sort of blameless person for being too dumb to tap, unless maybe I don't know that I should tap. Maybe I'm brand new and I don't know that the right thing to do is to tap. But if I have any level of experience, I mean, that doesn't absolve me for whatever happens. But at that point, you hip into it, then you have broken my arm.
Yeah.
Right? I think we would share equal blame at that point.
Right.
Kind of. I mean,
I would-
if we don't know each other, right? If like we're friends and you blow up my arm, like I'll be mad at you because I don't think it's necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
You don't generally break somebody's arm, in my experience. I don't see a lot of people. Well, this is not true. But I don't see a lot of people I like or people I respect who, when they have the other person dead to rights, the other person's not really doing anything. They're just like gratuitously break something or put them to sleep.
Yeah.
I do see people when they're going apeshit crazy, right? get their arms broken because they're going apeshit crazy and not tapping.
Yeah,
when they
but
should.
like the responsibility needs to be evenly distributed
Yes.
in that situation.
Well,
just because a person is not tapping doesn't mean it's all of their
You-
fault
no,
when
I
they're
disagree.
on the-
If you are going batshit crazy, or ape shit, or whatever shit, animal shit you want to talk about, and I feel like I have to protect myself, right? You've been super rough the whole time, and now you're refusing to tap. You've assumed the risk that you're going to jump.
And you've communicated all of that somehow before breaking this person's arm?
I mean, you read the rules, understand what you're doing.
I didn't see any rules where it said if you go apeshit, the other person has the right to break your arm.
You usually get a warning or two before that happens.
Usually.
I mean, right? I mean, usually,
I don't know.
unless it's always like a question of attitude, right? Like how the person is
Like,
really behaving.
is it a warning to be like, hey man, you should calm down, and when they don't, then can you break their arm? Or do you have to be like, hey man, if you don't calm down, I'm going to break your arm?
I think what you do is you break their arm, and then you say, like, you broke your own arm
You should
because you were
calm
going so
down.
apeshit crazy.
Yeah.
I got that from Aleo, so I think that's a good kind of
Pure water.
good approach to things, like a good standard operating procedure,
Yeah.
right?
Can I make a metaphor?
A metaphor. What's a metaphor?
Like, you know how in like the 50s or whatever, like the 40s?
I'm old, but I'm not that old, Kevin, so I don't remember the 40s or the 50s.
This is like the story I have in my head about the 50s. Like pre-birth control. This is going to be mildly sexual. Right?
I'm uncomfortable with this already.
Two young...
The opinions expressed by Mr.
people-
Kopecki do not represent the opinions of Samurai Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Incorporated.
Two young people engage in bad behavior.
Oh, here we go.
Not bad. Sexual.
You're already making me very uncomfortable.
Right? Girl winds up pregnant, as girls do.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
I feel like back in the day,
Back
it
in
was
the day.
the tendency to blame the woman for not doing the right
for putting
thing.
yourself in that situation.
Right? Whereas, like,
Yes.
what about the dude? You know, like, he took part
I agree.
in the thing.
I
you
agree.
know? Like, there was
I totally agree.
two sides of that situation.
I totally agree. And that you're making my point for me now.
Responsibility should be evenly distributed.
Well, but it's a so you're making a metaphor, but I think it's not an apt metaphor because it's totally different.
How?
Well, I mean, you're not like having sex with your training partner, right? That's not the.
You're engaging
Well,
in
let's put it this way.
one person on one person physical activity that has possible disastrous consequences.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
But the guy, right, in that sexual encounter,
The aggressor.
not the aggressor. 'Cause then why does it have to be the aggressor?
Well, in the jiu-jitsu part, he's the one breaking the.
I don't think that's irrelevant. I mean, both people could be aggressive.
Yeah,
right?
but in this armbar
If
scenario,
we're
talking about the
hypothesizing in
person
my
breaking the person's
hypothetical
arm.
that one person has demonstrated in the course of the role that they are out of control, right? They are either out of control or they are trying to hurt you, right?
Yeah.
One of those things or the other.
They're wearing the skirt.
Huh?
They're asking for it.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying
That's the metaphor I'm creating.
no. I mean, I don't agree, right? Like if I'm so the reason I don't think the metaphor is the best one is that there's none of that kind of situation in a consensual sexual relation, such interaction, shall we
Really?
say?
Which part?
Whichever part.
Which part?
What do you mean, which part?
Are you saying?
Wait, it's not like the guy or the girl is like out of control at this point, right? And then the other one's like, oh, you're out of control, so I'm going to do this bad thing to you, right? Or have this like immediate negative consequence, right? It's more like it's an accident, right? That's an accident, right? Two people get together, they engage in sexual behavior, they have an unintended consequence. Neither of them presumably wanted. They're both equally responsible. It takes two to tango, as they say, right? But there was no misbehavior in our example, right, that would elicit that result.
Let's say the
i.e.
illicit
the
behavior
pregnancy.
would be unprotected sex.
What's that?
The illicit behavior would be engaging in the activity unprotected, right? That is
No,
the
but
illicit-
the difference is that when we're talking about jiu-jitsu,
With jiu-jitsu, the not cranking on the arm is the wearing of the condom in the metaphor, right? Like
yeah,
you-
again, I don't think the
No, it's
metaphor is
just like-
good because let me finish. Because we come to jiu-jitsu, right,
Mhm.
and you have a general understanding, generally, right, that you're not going to do something in your, get so out of control that you're going to potentially injure your opponent,
Mhm.
right, outside of even a submission, right? Like I'm just going so rough, I elbow you or I knee you,
Mhm.
or like I pick you up and I slam you, right? Like at that point, you're kind of breaking what I would say is not just an implicit contract that we all have in jiu-jitsu, sometimes it's explicit, right? Like we have rules, no slamming. We have rules like don't elbow, don't kick people, you know, don't step on them. Like you have these, don't pull their fingers, don't poke them in the eye. Like these are all part of kind of the contract that we have when we participate.
Sure.
Right? And sometimes it's, I mean, I don't know every school, we don't make people sign this contract, but we understand it generally, right? If I thumb you in the eye, you know, more than once, so that's not really an accident, right? Or it's an accident I should be careful to prevent, right? There's no reason why I should keep thumbing you in the eye over and over again unless I'm doing something kind of inappropriate, right? Well, that's kind of a violation or a breach of that contract that we have as training partners, right? And so that might elicit, right, somebody breaking somebody's arm.
Well,
right? Because you've broken the
should
contract.
that be written down then? Like, if the person doesn't follow these rules, then you might get your arm broken. Like, I feel like that would have to be
I mean, I think,
for it.
you know, to your point, I think often, you know, people go rough, and you're able to. I mean, if you're good enough, you submit them, and then you can have a little chat with them afterwards about like this is not appropriate behavior and whatever. You know, I often tell people when they first come in, I don't make them sign anything, but I often tell them like read the rules. What's that?
They sign waivers, don't they?
They sign waivers, but the waivers are just a waiver of liability. They're not waivers. They're not an agreement to abide by whatever. Well, I have to recheck them. They may have something in there that says I agree to abide by all the rules, and I have to check. But I almost always tell people, you know, when they first roll, I say, you know, look, you need to go easy, because if you don't go easy, then people will take it. You know, they won't go easy on you.
What I think it's important for jiu-jitsu to have though is like a buffer in which people who aren't good and tend to make accidents can make accidents, and the person will give them the benefit of the doubt without breaking their arm.
Want to say that again?
Like, I feel like breaking someone's arm for being rough is unacceptable no matter how rough the other person is going.
I mean, look, I mean, you can have the person who comes in off the street and wants to like kind of prove something, and they're really not here to like take care of like, to really learn jiu-jitsu. They're here to like prove something to themselves or to their ego or whatever. And when a person comes in and essentially attacks you, I think you have a right to
defend yourself.
And if that involves breaking somebody's arm or putting them to sleep, then I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, that's true, but what you're talking about hasn't been self-defensive, like, if I don't break this person's arm, I'm not going to be able to stop them from killing me, versus this guy is too mad, or like, too crazy, I need to like, teach him to calm down. You know, like, that's not...
I'm not teaching anybody, I'm saying from the perspective of, you know, like, I agree, I don't think you should just willy-nilly just break people's arms and put them to sleep for no good reason, right? Even if they are going a little bit crazy, but I think it's totally understandable when a person...
Oh, it's absolutely understandable.
Thank you, that's all my
It's
point.
still unacceptable.
I mean, it's like the situation where, I don't know, maybe that's not a good analogy either, but I think if someone is doing something that is liable to injure you, right? Like there are people who can go crazy and they don't really ever get close to hurting you. Yeah, and that person you shouldn't injure, right?
You should be able to protect yourself.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about like the blue belt or the purple belt or somebody who maybe isn't as experienced. And
I feel like they should be able to defend themselves without.
Well, but you know, there's difference, right? Like there are people that come in and they're, you know, or people that they're going to meet training and maybe they're not as solicitous of your health.
What is it about the last breaking part of the armbar that really makes self-defense like that?
You know, actually, you know, with a lot of those people, you don't even have to hip into it. You just hold it and they break their own arm.
That's different.
And you know what?
That's different.
And you know what? That's the you break their arm.
Honestly, like from my perspective, like I have a responsibility to let go when they break their arm.
Here's the thing.
But normal students, it's perfectly, you know, if someone breaks their own
here's
arm.
the thing. Yeah, there's certain risks that you assume when you do any kind of athletic activity. And you know, you get, I think most of the time, 99% of the time, you get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Right? You do something dumb, the person doesn't get mad, they understand, you're new, you didn't mean it, right? You apologize, whatever, I know. And no one really is worse for wear. You learn the lesson, haha, you laugh about it, whatever. You don't do it again. But, you know, there are situations where, you know, somebody can get out of line. And
But should it be a student's responsibility to like enforce that cultural rule set? Like, isn't that our job?
we are all adults, right? Like everybody who walks in here is an adult and understand. They should understand what we're doing.
Yeah, but
And so, like, I think it's important that people come onto the mat with a high degree of respect for everybody on that mat. And also, you will learn. Everyone, I think, at some point learns that there is a line that the line will shift from person to person, but there are lines that you can and cannot cross, or cannot cross. And when you cross it, you are like, you're risking your own health,
I agree.
right? And look, sometimes people have bad days, right? Like sometimes people come in and, you want to take out whatever frustration or whatever it is on, your training partners.
So how do you know that you're not the one having the bad day?
Well, you can always have a sense, right? That's true. Like, you could be like the pretend victim and just be breaking people's arms all over the place.
That's the problem. Like, you keep getting hit in the face. Well, like, yeah, you're doing jiu-jitsu, it happens, but, if you take it extra personally because, like, you've been having a bad day,
Look, I don't disagree. Like, in a perfect world, we would all be, like, always perfectly rational, and we'd all be able to control our emotions.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But here's the thing, and this is, I think, is a super important lesson, and one that you would definitely, if you do jiu-jitsu long enough, you will definitely learn this, is that some people it doesn't matter how nice they are off the mat, they have very short fuses. And, if you cross that line with them, they will wreck you, even if it's an accident.
Yeah.
Right? And you need to learn how to be, mindful people. That was inevitable. You okay?
Yeah.
Like that, right there. You cross the line, and you line up face first.
Yeah, push the
And if you're lucky, right? Like I remember this happened to me, right? I won't say any names, but I definitely crossed the line one time or 2 times, and I got a little bit of a thrashing for it. And the guy taught me the lesson. It was not a pleasant lesson to learn, right? But you learn the lesson. And I wasn't injured, right? He was good enough that he could teach me that lesson without actually injuring me. But I can tell you, it hurt. It was a painful lesson.
I've gotten my arm popped by instructors.
See, I never got anything popped by an instructor. I got messed up. Like,
I've gotten popped.
well, and then you learn, right? Like, you learn.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
there's no
I'm talking about
positive value at all. I'm just saying, like, there are better ways to do
in a
things.
perfect world, we'd all use our words. I agree. And I think it's different for adults than it is for kids, right? I would say. Well, because I think kids have less self-control. They're more impulsive. Maybe they don't know. They're not as socialized or should be socialized.
So what's the difference in terms of how to approach?
I try to teach all the kids, especially in the training room, like, you shouldn't break someone's arm. Like you shouldn't intentionally hurt somebody, even if they are going to get out of a submission, even if they are, right, gonna reverse you or sweep you or whatever it is, except in training at least, in general,
Yeah.
you should avoid injury, even if it means losing position or losing a submission.
Well, what I really like about kids jiu-jitsu is you win just when the arm is extended. Like, you don't have to break an arm when you're a child. As soon as...
Yeah, well, in competition. And that's what I tell them, right? Because this is realistic from a competition perspective.
Yeah, you just straighten your arm.
I've had a lot of parents who watch. I'm sure, I don't know if you've had this either, but, they'll complain to me either after a class or even at a tournament.
Uh-huh.
And I try to explain to them that, like, yeah, I know your kid has rubber arms, and it doesn't matter. Maybe that kid could withstand a fully applied arm lock.
Wait, what's the complaint?
The complaint is like, yeah, my kid's arm was extended, but they weren't tapping. They didn't tap.
Yeah, that's dumb.
And I try to tell them, like, A, why do you want your kid to be injured? I'm just doing this for their safety. And B, B is like, they shouldn't. The better lesson for them is to, like, be able to escape from it, and then C, in the tournament, they're going to stop it as well.
Yeah, in a tournament they stop it, which is nice. There is some value, I think, of like kind of finding your arm bar limits.
Yeah, of course.
But with kids, I feel like they're too young for that to make.
Well, they're just rubber.
But even if they're rubber, like, they will push it probably past the safe limit.
And some kids, I've had this before, where some kids won't say anything. They'll eat. They're tough. A lot of these kids are super tough. I remember I had one kid. You may have remembered this. I won't mention any names. But he went outside after class. He was totally fine. I shook his hand, whole thing.
Yeah.
He's a tough man. In a way, I was like, his dad came in because, No, not him. It was another kid, but you know, like he didn't say, and he didn't let any show any pain or any, you know, like being upset at all. His dad comes in here like storming in, mad. I was like, oh my God, this guy's gonna punch him. Like I thought we were gonna get into a fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, my kid's crying in the car, he's sobbing, like whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. And that's 100% truth. And I don't blame the dad. I would have been the same way. Trust me, if my daughter come in the car crying, there would have been hell to pay in that place too, right? I would have been coming in hot. Just like, I mean, I don't mean any of this as a criticism, but what I learned was like, his kid he just ate it, and then he saved it until he got to the car.
Waited until he was out of sight.
You know, and I don't fault him for that. I don't fault the dad. I don't, you know, like, but you know, it's just an example of the kids won't let on.
It's a tough kid.
I mean,
I could have done that at any age.
you know, but it's you know, for their protection. I don't want a kid to eat an injury and then, you know, that night or the next morning his arm or her arm swells up or leg swells up, or you know, they get some serious injury and they don't want to talk about it or don't want to tell us because or tap to it because they think, you know, they shouldn't submit, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing with the kids who are able to totally dominate the other kids. I try to get them to, you know, work more on their technique. You know, really working on techniques maybe that they can't get on their true peers, as opposed to just like smashing the smaller or less experienced children. You hurting yourself there, Coach Kevin?
No, my elbow does weird things at weird angles.
It might be related to the fact that you're using some
No, it's been
improvised equipment there.
I just have a weird right arm. This is how straight it gets. Is this it? Yeah. You see the difference?
How many times have you had that arm broken?
This one was the one that got popped a lot.
Yeah. So when you're pissing off your instructor, is that the one you always broke?
Yeah. And look, this is why I don't recommend it. Ugh. I don't know if it shows it. You can see it. Anyway. I don't know, I just think, like if I'm rolling with someone and I break someone's arm,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I ought to take some responsibility for that.
It depends on the situation, right?
No, like, no matter what the situation is, I'm at least a little bit responsible.
Yeah.
At least a little bit. We can start there. I would probably argue towards half, but, because like, no matter what, you are the one making the decision to move your body. Unless the person unless you're just holding it and the person flips over and breaks their arm. I'm not saying that can't happen, but you know, when you're extending on an arm, that's not because this person is doing something. That's because you're telling your hips to move forward and you're holding on to it. It's you making a decision to do a thing that you should take some responsibility for. Like that is something you shouldn't take lightly. Like you shouldn't willy-nilly.
I mean, it's just their arm. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're not actually breaking anything for real.
You're not killing them, and you're.
They'll recover in a month or two.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that more often than not, I'm not gonna say that it never happens because I know it does. That situation occurs more often because the student or I don't know if the less experience is the right thing. We're talking as instructors, which is I think a little different than just your average student.
Yeah.
I think more often than not, there are definitely situations where the person who is performing the submission is out of line. And, you know, they just snap it on really hard, really fast against somebody who maybe is unsuspecting. That certainly does happen. But I think more often than not, it's people get injured because they are doing stupid things when they should be tapping.
Yeah, but those people never know it. You know, they always.
No, I think they do. I think they do.
In my experience,
They might say they don't know, but they know.
Not I mean, maybe they'll say if I had only been going slower, maybe that situation wouldn't have arisen. But if someone breaks my arm, I'm gonna be mad at that person. You know, that's just the way things
I don't
are.
know. I mean,
If I felt like you had
any sort of opportunity to not break my arm, and I felt like it was more appropriate for you to not break my arm. I'm gonna be mad at you for breaking my arm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, right? Like, you can think it's more inappropriate or appropriate or whatever it is. The other person may or may not have that, right? Like, so, I mean, I'll give you an example from sometimes, like, way back when we used to roll before this. You know, there have been situations where, like, you're just messing around. I might get an arm or whatever, and you're trying to move away or whatever, and maybe I could go ape shit on it and just try to crank the shit out of it, right? But I know that you're not like going full speed, right? So I don't see the point of cranking a submission just because I happen to have it because you're kind of messing around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've had those situations where we're playing around with a student who's not playing around. They get on something and they try to crank hard. Right? Now, I always blame myself when that happens because I'm like, I was being too nice, I was being relaxed, and I didn't realize this person's going super hard on me, right? And that you have these guys, these training partners, who you know, if you give them a crack of daylight, that they're going to try to like barge right
so
through.
You shouldn't be upset when they like
you
jump
should
on
be.
the cheese.
What?
If they like jump on that cheese that you gave them,
Yes.
you're like, "Gah." Like don't be mad at them.
Exactly.
So like that's
That's what I'm saying. Don't be mad at them. They don't know any better.
Yeah.
They're just trying to tap you out because they're happy to tap you out.
Everyone's just doing their best.
Everyone's just doing their best. So, you know what, though? If you're going to do something, I mean, I've had situations where I have something on, and then the person just like tries to do something dumb to come out, and they hurt themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's different.
I don't feel responsible at all. I mean, even if I put them in the position, and I'm locked in on it, and they pull away. Now, on heel hooks, you know, like I let go of stuff because I don't want people because they're the students, right? I don't want to hurt the students. That's
why is it different between the two? I mean,
because students are different than students, are different than instructors.
If you're willing to why are you willing to give up a heel hook and not an arm bar?
Well, I think a knee is a couple things, as I'll say, that occur to me right now. The first is that most, the injury I think to the knee is more severe and longer, like in terms of recovery, and the requirement of surgery. I mean, this is a big deal.
But is like a 3-month injury acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, more acceptable,
More
right?
acceptable.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying that both should be avoided. I agree, but like,
If you had to choose.
and also I don't generally crank on submissions for people who are lower rank, right, or new students or whatever. Generally, I don't do that. Even if they are being dumb, I'll usually let it go because again, same reason. I don't make a distinction in terms of heel hooks or any submission with respect to that. Like if it's a less experienced person, they're a student, right? I'm trying to take care of them. I don't want them to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to crank on it, you know, just for the sake of getting a submission. If anything, it's kind of more fun to just keep rolling, you know, and keep the roll going.
Mhm.
So that's the difference. And then the other thing is I think maybe students have less comfort level with like they don't really know what they're doing generally with the heel hook defenses.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's
they don't understand when they're. I mean, with the arm bar generally, and I know there are variations.
They should know that
They know. I mean, now they're. But with a heel, they don't always know that just rolling willy nilly is going to wind up tearing their ankle or their knee, and or both.
But I feel like
Right.
if you can give up.
So I'll let go of that quicker because I don't want, you know, there's less time to be nice to them.
Yeah.
It's either, because you know what it is with an arm? You can hang on to the arm and still not hurt them, usually, unless they go really crazy. Whereas with the heel, it's not like I can just like loosen up, I mean, it's gone. Like if I loosen up on the heel hook, they're usually gone, right? I mean, I might be able to switch to something else, but yeah, I mean, I'm not talking from the perspective of, you know, you're an instructor, you're a black belt, the person's a blue belt or something. Although, I mean, there are a couple blue belts out there, for sure, you know, who should know better by now.
So would a vengeful heel hook be off the table?
Depends on who it's with.
Really? Interesting.
I mean, if Paul Harris gets me in the heel hook and I tap, and he doesn't let go, but then I somehow manage to escape, when I get him in the heel hook, I'm not letting go either.
Eye for an eye.
A knee for a knee.
Knee for a knee.
And you know, there are some people that you know, they're coming for you.
There are some people.
There's some people, especially in competition too, it's like, you know, you just don't have a chance to.
Competition's different. You should expect the person to try and break your arm. You should try and break their arm.
I mean, don't go to competition. If you're an adult.
If you don't want to break someone's arm, then don't go to a competition.
look, you could be amazing. Like there are guys that are so good that it doesn't matter how hard you go.
I'm not saying that in order to win you have to break.
Right, but you should be ready to do it.
In order to win,
Yeah.
you have to make the
Some
other
people
person think
won't
that you
tap. They won't give up unless you break it, and even then, sometimes they don't tap.
Yeah. Well, with a lot of people, for me, and this is not great, but sometimes I will, when I'm rolling with a person, just relax and see if they can do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, like, they just don't crank it, and some of them do. But where was I going with this? What was the thought right before I started talking?
I don't know. What happens to you in competition? I
I forget.
don't know what you were trying to say.
Competition. Dang it. Came in, went out. Silly thought.
Did you hate that? That's what
Must
it's
have-
like for me every day now.
Must have not been important. Dang it. It's going somewhere. Oh well. Now I know what I was trying to think.
What?
What was I saying?
I don't know. I can barely remember what I'm trying to say.
Was it about expectations?
I don't know.
I forget. Hold up. Tournaments, expecting to break someone's arm, you should break their arm. We still haven't had the conversation about what a submission is.
About what?
About what a submission is.
This is your pet topic.
Yeah.
So, well, we're probably going to end soon. So,
I'm still frustrated about the thought I lost.
dude, you're hurting. You're gonna hurt yourself. All right. I'm gonna call it. Thank you for joining us on Facebook, our first simulcast.
Right.
Yay! I got a good workout. I don't know about this guy.
Pretty good.
Not bad.
Not terrible.
Not great. See you guys. We'll do it again tomorrow. Oh, we're supposed to do a code word. What's our code word? Code word is submission.
Submission.
Submission.